Welcome into the Paul Kuharsky podcast. No opening music, no problem. I'm Paul Kuharsky from paulkuharsky.com here at EDLEYS Barbecue off 65 and Paytonsville Road, my home base on Thursdays for the Paul Kuharsky podcast. EDLEYS all around Nashville, in and around Nashville, the best place for barbecue. Can't go wrong. Come in here, smell the smells, get all excited about the lunch I might have after this fine broadcast is over. Come on in, join the fun. Come on into EDLEYS and have an amazing lunch. I'm sponsored by EDLEYS. I'm sponsored by VIP Play, and I am part of the 440 Sports Network. Produced by JT Runke, who does not get enough credit. As somebody who's familiar with not getting enough credit, I appreciate it. You can watch on YouTube. Joe is asking, how can you watch beside on X? YouTube is my other broadcast outlet. And you can also listen later on Apple, on Spotify, and on iHeart, where you should like, subscribe, thumbs up, rate, and review, and do all those things that help all of the channels and the platforms. Good to see you all. Trevor Goforth is regretting the Walmart salad he just had, as you should. Let's get started here. We're going to talk about the 5 Titans with the best chance to develop in the non-Cam Ward division. It's actually the non-rookie division. We're going to talk about something that everybody seems to be really bothered by, the Titans not getting any prime time games in the schedule that was released last night. Undrafted cornerbacks, who I think are something that's not been talked about, but a big deal for this team. The way the team installs the offense and the defense, which I wrote about in a bit of detail this week, and all of your questions as we dive into every week. So happy you're here. Thanks for coming. Let's talk a little bit about this primetime thing, which is getting a lot of attention. Look, we all know good teams and some big market teams that are not that good get too much primetime. Do we need to see Kansas City 7 times on primetime? That's an enormous amount of games. And I enjoy watching the Chiefs. They play some highly entertaining football oftentimes. But that means I'm probably going to see, most of us are probably going to see the Chiefs play 7 times this year. And that's a lot. That's not as bad as seeing Dallas 6 times this year, because Dallas is not necessarily going to be a very good football team. But it's in the 5 category that I've got a couple real objections. Miami 5 times. I think Miami can be a highly entertaining football team when they're going on all cylinders, but they're rarely going on all cylinders. They've not had much success, really. I don't know what, I mean, it's a good-sized market. Atlanta's a good-sized market, but Atlanta's done nothing to earn 5 primetime games. Detroit, Philadelphia, Washington, Buffalo, the Chargers, San Francisco. I can understand most of those. 4 times, Baltimore, Cincinnati. Pittsburgh's going to be awful, but the Steelers are the Steelers. The Texans, the Broncos, the Packers, the Vikings, the Buccaneers, the Rams, and the Seahawks. Not real wild about watching a lot of Seahawks. 3 times, Giants, Vegas, Patriots, Bears. Some intrigue there. Not so much with the Giants, but that's New York. Jets twice, Arizona twice. Indianapolis, Jacksonville, and Carolina once. And then the Titans are with the Browns and the Saints, not on prime time at all. I mean, a lot of people take it as a personal slight against their team. So I guess if you're looking to be slighted, that's fine. I think the biggest thing is you like for your schedule to not be married to noon on every single Sunday. 4 Sundays you'll be in the 3 o'clock hour, because 4 Sundays the Titans will be out west in Las Vegas, in Arizona, in San Francisco, and what am I missing? In Denver. obviously on opening day. But not being in prime time is not the worst thing for a young team to have a regularly uh, identifiable schedule. And the other thing is, uh, you know, this team might be pretty bad. And do you want the embarrassment of playing poorly for the whole world to see? Another thing that I think some people were pointing out earlier today is, every game's really a national game. It's just a matter of whether you are willing to not watch other games. I mean, if you want to watch the Titans, you can. They're up against other competition. Um, but I think if you look at the Titans' history, it's not like they've been slighted. In 2017, they were coming off a 9-7 record. They had 2 primetime games. In 2018, they were coming off a 9-7 record. They had 4 primetime games. In 2018, they were coming off a 9-7 record. 2019, and they had 1 primetime game. In 2019, they were coming off 9-7 record again, and they had 3 primetime games. In 2021. So I don't know where I lost track there. In 2020, they were coming off another 9-7 record. They had 3 primetime games. In 2021, they were coming off 11-5. They had broken through, and they got 3 primetime games. And in 2022, they were coming off 12-5, the number 1 seed, and they got 5 primetime games. And then they went 7-11 in that season. And in 2023, they got 2 primetime games, and they went 6-11. And in 2024, they had 1 primetime game. So 2, 4, 1, 3, 3, 5, 2, 1. That doesn't seem all that unreasonable to me based on what kind of team they've been. It reflects what kind of team you've been. Last year, they were 3-14 team. Cam Ward alone does not buy you primetime. You could argue you should get 1 shot there. They're not a team loaded with stars by any means, And Derrick Henry was a compelling national figure and got this team some national attention. He was a guy to run in previews. Cam Ward might be that guy, might not be that guy. We'll find out. Can you argue they should have been on there once? Yeah, you can argue that. But I put this into ChatGPT earlier, and it says, based on the information available, it appears that every quarterback selected first overall in the NFL draft over the past 2 decades has had at least 1 primetime game during their rookie season. This trend underscores the league's emphasis on showcasing top draft picks to a national audience. So Cam Ward may be in special circumstances there. If you're a Titans fan, I can understand that frustrates or disappoints you, but also would say it's not the end of the world. And Ed Henry points out, if they play well, maybe they get a flex late in the year with San Francisco or Kansas City at home, or what are the possibilities there? Seattle, possibility in week 12 when flexing starts. So the possibilities would be Seattle, doubtful Jacksonville, doubtful at Cleveland, possible at San Francisco, certainly possible Kansas City, though that would be Kansas City getting yet another one, doubtful New Orleans. And then that Jacksonville game in week 18 certainly has a possibility of being a Saturday game or, a good Sunday slot if it were to have a bearing on the AFC South title, which I don't think it's going to be. And Juan says, I'm not mad at us not having a primetime game. That's just a bigger chip on Ward's shoulder. I don't know if Cam Ward's a guy who's going to look at something like that and let it be a deal to him. I would hope not. Chase in here says he doesn't care about prime time. Others might. Ben Brown is motivated to make a trip to Nashville just to eat at EDLEYS. I like that idea very much. And so, Ben, in your honor, we shall talk about delicious EDLEYS barbecue in and around Nashville. I, Ben, am at Franklin in Berry Farms, 501 Sarah Evelyn Berry Lane. More easily, I can describe it, south of Nashville, the Paytonsville Road exit off 65. You come just a little ways where the action is, the gas stations, the restaurants, and the like, and this lovely venue sits right here. Get fried ribs. If they have fried ribs. Do you guys have fried ribs today? Oh, she's going to check. Well, don't. 2 orders left, maybe. If you run here immediately, you can get them. But most days, they seem to have fried ribs. So you can get the fried ribs, which are phenomenal. If you're here by, say, 1:10 on a regular afternoon, and most of the other venues, you can get the fried ribs, which is my favorite thing. The avocado plate, just delicious with a great avocado. They're out of them today. See, so you got to be here by what time? What time would you recommend somebody be here? Come around here for a second. Come around here for a second. Do you partake? Remind me your name. I'm sorry.
Sabrina like the ribs.
Sabrina. Come on screen more. Do you recommend the fried ribs?
Oh, absolutely.
Come to the microphone. People need to
They're
hear
really, really good. They're caramelized. They're, sticky, but still tender when you pull on them.
And what's your other favorite thing here?
The wings. Smoked wings.
And what's the best drink that you pour?
I'm a beer girl, so
she's a beer girl. So you come here, come to Sabrina. She'll pour you the coldest beer you've ever had, and serve you the ribs. If they're out of the ribs, she'll help you with the next thing on the menu. You can't go wrong with service like that and food like they have here. It's fantastic. And if you can't make it to Franklin Berry Farms, you can go to Franklin, the factory. You can go to 5 Points in East Nashville. You can go to Sylvan Park. You can go to Donaldson. You can go to Gallatin. You can go to 12 South. You can go to Nolensville. I'm campaigning on Dwayne's behalf for a new one to go up in Clarksville. You can't go wrong eating in this place. The service is terrific, friendly, fast. The beer is cold. The drinks are well mixed. EDLEYS Barbecue. I'm grateful that they've been such a faithful sponsor of this podcast. And I'd be grateful if you came and had a meal, an extra meal at EDLEYS Barbecue. Best advertising in the world, William Young says. I'm not, it's not my first rodeo. Thank you for your consideration of the best barbecue around. Schedule, dreadful start, right? At Denver. Look, I'm not a big Bo Nix believer in the long term, but he and Sean Payton got off to a nice start. And more concerningly for Cam Ward, Denver had the number 1 defense in EPA in 2024, minus 0.12. That's expected points per play. It was very hard to do things against Denver last year. Vance Joseph, a very good defensive mind, running that defense. You're going to play at altitude, which takes some getting used to. Cam Ward, this probably his debut, unless something has gone wrong. Titans, big challenge at Denver. Then they come home and they play the Rams. And the Rams have another great coach in Sean McVay. So 2 big challenges. Brian Callahan going head-to-head with 2 of the league's best coaches. Can the Titans, match wits with these 2 coaches and keep up? You need to score points, obviously, with 2 offenses that are capable of scoring points. And then can you handle what these teams throw at you? The Rams didn't have a terrific defense last year. I mean, if you go through the important defensive categories, they don't show up high there, but they're obviously done a good job at replacing Aaron Donald, and they can come at you with some stuff, and they're regularly they've replenished themselves nicely once they decided that they're going to get back involved in the draft. They're good at spotting talent. They're good at playing to their players' talent. And they're a perennial playoff team and contender. And everybody likes them every year, right? Expects good things of them, which is the opposite of what people are expecting of the Titans now. G says he thinks Levis should start week 1 and see what the O-line looks like. That's not how it works. You know what the O-line looks like through training camp and through the preseason, and they've spent the money and the resources on the offensive line. You don't dip your toe in the water, because what if the O-line looks terrible? Then you say we're going to hold back Cam Ward because the offensive line isn't good. That's not how it's going to. Excuse me. That's not how it's going to work. G. Sergeant Bubbles says, I am not a believer in Callahan, so I'll admit I'm biased here. But how quickly would Amy pull the trigger on Callahan if the team starts on a losing streak this season? I don't think quickly. I think, listen, if these lieutenants of her, if Brinker and Nihill have any sway over her, and I've got to believe that they do, that they've sold her on being patient. And what is going to be accomplished by pulling the plug on Callahan? Callahan's people are going to be calling Callahan's playbook. Like this idea that pulling the plug on Callahan quickly offers some sort of opposite Callahan guy. You pull the plug on Callahan, his father is still the offensive line coach. You pull the plug on Callahan, and people he hired, his staff is still in place. It's about something bigger than Callahan. I think Callahan gets patience, and I think Callahan deserves patience. Cam Ward, quarterback development is not linear. We talk about this all the time. And Callahan needs to be given time, just like Cam Ward needs to be given time. And they need to be given time together. They are intertwined. And if you're intertwined and the team policy is patience, well, then everybody's got to hold on, and let things unfold. And not for a couple weeks, but maybe for a couple years, but certainly for this year. They're intertwined. They're working together. Let things unfold patiently and see how things go. Now, that may not be what you want in terms of immediate results and dramatic difference in the win-loss columns, but that's how it's got to unfold. Now, could you get a Washington-like miracle turnaround? Yeah, it's possible. Washington's proved it's possible. But, there are a lot of rosters that are in bad shape, and there are a lot of rebuilds that go slowly. There are more rebuilds that go slowly or slower than go the pace of Washington's, though we see teams turn things around in relative short order. Now, this rebuild should have been underway last year, and it didn't really get legs under it because they picked the wrong quarterback the year before, and because they picked their own management the year before. And so the first restart was a false start. So they have the restart right this time? We don't know yet. Adam says, do I think Callahan recognizes his play calling has to improve, and what tools do I think he used to improve them? Well, I think he'll use a better offensive line that buys his quarterback more time to improve his play call. I think he'll use a quarterback that makes better decisions, can be more fruitful in terms of buying himself more time on occasion, that makes quicker, better decisions. Receivers that are hopefully certainly not all the way there, but a step better than what he had. Better personnel, I think, is the number one thing he uses to be a better play caller. And then he looks back at what he did last year and kind of grades himself on what he did, and what he didn't do, and what he should do. And he looks at what Cam Ward did in Miami and what quarterbacks like Cam Ward do in the league and in college and the like, and builds from there. He's got McCoy in now, who has been a play caller and is a veteran offensive coach from a play calling background. So he's got a veteran resource who's more of a guy who's been involved in skill position player coaching as opposed to line play like his dad. So he's got a resource there. And I think there's a lot for him to call on. Can Jalen Duncan, Spencer asks, develop into a stable swing tackle? Who else is even fighting for that spot? Well, they got a lot of guys fighting for a lot of spots. I've got a up to date, by the way, Tennessee Titans depth chart that I constantly update. I'll put that here in the comments. But the swing tackle, the chief swing tackle candidate, I think, is Blake Hance, who they signed as a free agent from Jacksonville. He and Duncan and Ojukwu are battling from that. Undrafted rookie free agent Brandon Crenshaw Dixon is another guy. Rupsich is more of a guard, but has played a little bit of tackle. Those would be the main guys. Hopefully Blake Hance would be my answer. But Jalen Duncan, like all these guys, has spent a year with Bill Callahan. And, you have to allow for the possibility he gets better, though he's not been an impressive guy in his time with this team. Here's the link in the comments. Sent twice, of course. But that's the link to the updated. Every time they make a roster move, I update it. I just got some more information on some of the defensive linemen who were who's more tackle, who's more an end, who's more nose. And so everything I find out there, I put into this running depth chart. And I did just, I'll probably write this right after we go off the air. G's got something about Dixon's undrafted free agent money for Dixon. I've got some salaries on some guarantees on some guys that are of interest. Sam has entered the building. I'm passing on the fried ribs today. I'm not actually passing. They're out of them. But the fried ribs here are amazing. Adam, really like James Foster's article. James Foster, this week, you need to read it. You need to be a member of Kuharsky.com. He judged every position group. Great, good, average, bad, terrible. And he'll be writing stuff now on specific guys as we go forward and move towards training camp. Adam disagrees that the tight end group is better than the running back group. What are my thoughts? I need to see more of Gunnar Helm, and I'd like to see Khalil Mullings on the field. And he may be out still for a while as he recovers from the abdominal surgery that he had after Michigan's season. But I think they are not too far apart. Pollard's, the numbers that he had about Pollard's end of season drop off were more dramatic than I expected. I am down on Tyjae Spears. I am intrigued by Mullings. I don't really like the incumbent Titans tight end, so a lot of it comes down to Helm for me. Yeah, I don't know that Callahan losing his mind on Levis after a huge Levis turnover was the end of last season. Titans got off to a really crappy start last season. They couldn't dig out of it. I would hope if they get off to a really crappy start this season, which is entirely possible with these first two games. I mean, I don't think they'll lose to Indianapolis. I think Indianapolis is bad. I thought the same thing last year. But if the Titans were to lose to Denver and to the Rams in the first 2 weeks of the season, which is entirely possible, I would hope that this team is more equipped to dig out of that than they were last season when they lost to the Bears and the Jets. And I would hope that they don't lose in the same fashion that they lost to the Bears and the Jets. But Callahan's taken a lot of grief for saying, "What the fuck are you doing?" to Will Levis coming off of the field, and I had no objection to it whatsoever. It's real life coaching in the moment. And apparently a lot of you think he needed to baby Levis in that moment, which I disagree with. That was the second game. That was the Jets game. They'd spent all week talking about making better decisions, and then he made a ridiculous decision, fumbling that ball forward as he tried to scoop, toss it to Tajay, I believe. And I'm not in the camp of babying guys. I'm in the camp of expecting a response from a guy who's made a terrible mistake one week, and you're spend the whole week talking to him about not making the same kind of mistake. And when he makes the same kind of mistake, I'd be on his ass too. And that's the kind of coaching I'm perfectly happy to see. Darian asks, says, I heard your first opinion on Restrepo probably not making the team, except possibly the practice squad. Has my feelings swayed any since the beginning of camp? I've seen 1 hour of rookies playing against Air, at which my opinion of him lessened rather than strengthened, if any. Sam wants to know, how much does Pollard's ankle play into that? He's behind on his reading, needs to get the Foster's piece. I mean, I don't think there's anything left over from Pollard's ankle that should be a concern this year. I think it's clear that they're very concerned about Pollard wearing down over the course of the season. They've said as much. Callahan has, that they're worried about big carry numbers in September and October having a big impact on him in November and December and January. You know, now we had Derrick Henry here for so long that, you know, I was never concerned about using up the running back. And my general feeling about running backs in general is, you know, I'm not talking about this where you're not worried about using a guy up in September and October if you think those carries in the early months are going to hurt what he's able to do in the latter months. But I'm not worried about Pollard's workload in 2025 as it affects him in 2026. Use him in 2025 as you need and worry about 2026 after 2025. But I do think Mullings can take some of the load. I think Spears, I just think he showed off some limitations last year. He gets nicked up, and I'm not anxious to give carries away to Spears. I like him with the ball in space. If you can get him the ball in the passing game, I don't know it. Yeah, Spencer, you just can't take some of this stuff literally. How can Callahan say they're designing the playbook around Cam Ward to include Miami's scheme, but also maintain there's a serious quarterback competition in camp? I mean, if you asked him that, he would say, well, the Miami stuff that is tailored for Cam isn't stuff that we would necessarily do when Levis is quarterbacking. There's enough stuff for everybody. But we all know that there's not a serious quarterback competition. And look, they can't win either way on this. You know, if they don't make him compete, quote unquote, for the starting job, then he's an entitled guy who's being handed everything, and people that have problems with that, and maybe some segment of the locker room included. But if they set it up that he's competing, you say, well, that's ridiculous. He's the number one pick in the draft and clearly your future of the franchise, and Levis is not qualified to compete with him. So I don't know what the right thing is there. I would say, you know, we expect Cam to be at the front of the line, but nothing's given to him and he's got to earn everything. Can you leave it at that? That's what I would try to say. I don't know that any of that stuff. I mean, Spencer asked, could that be posturing for a Levis trade? How does it help you trade Levis? People are going to trade for or not trade for Levis based on what he's done, not on where he lines up in the OTAs or in the early preseason. And his worth is not high. Adam asks, what are my overall thoughts on Denard Wilson compared to his peers? Is he a top half of the league, DC? No. I mean, Denard Wilson's a nice guy and speaks very well, and he's about what his plan is and about the Titans defense and about the players he has. And I think he did a very nice job with some defensive backs last year with Baker, with Brownlee, with even some of the safeties that had to play after they lost Diggs. How could you suggest this the top half of the league? They were 3-14. They gave up plays like crazy. They couldn't stop people from scoring in the red zone. I mean, yeah, they had some things work against them where the special teams were giving teams possessions deep in Titans territory and the like. But overall defensive body work was the defensive body of work of a team that was not very good. I'm conceding. Special teams put them in a bad spot, and the offense did not score enough points for them. That wasn't a defense. They didn't get to the quarterback, didn't create any turnovers. You can't rate the coordinator of that unit as anything special. Adam says Callahan could have accompanied the "what the fuck are you doing" with the smack on the head, and he still wouldn't have gone too far. Our fan base is soft on that issue. That's not the only one they're soft on. All right, let's get into one of the bigger things I wanted to do here because my list last week was a relative hit. I listed the guys most likely to be overhyped. So now I'm going to give you 5 Titans with the best chance to develop this year. This is free of the 2025 draft and undrafted rookies. These guys all had to have been around at least from last year. Some obvious, some maybe less than obvious. One omission I think maybe you'll object to. We'll count this down. Number 5 on the list of Titans most likely the best chance to develop in 2025. Number 5, Cedric Gray. Now, do I believe he's going to develop? Not really. But all the pre-draft write-ups about Cedric Gray said the question about him was play recognition. Now, Cody Barton should do most of the play recognizing at inside linebacker. You'd like both guys to recognize the plays. We probably went from too far up on Cedric Gray, like when he was drafted and early training camp before he got hurt, which was pretty quickly, to too far down on Cedric Gray. Blake Bedingfield said this about Cedric Gray when the Titans drafted him. 3-down linebacker, good quickness and speed, average instincts and average strength, good 4th rounder, can start and is probably the best option based on the current roster. This was last year's roster, which was not very good at inside linebacker, and it's not very good at inside linebacker now outside of Cody Barton, who they view as an upgrade to Kenneth Murray. I'm not a big fan of the Titans' inside linebacker coach. I don't see that Gray has developed a lot of people. Gray. I'm calling him Gray. Having some caffeine there. Frank. Come on. What is Frank's last name? Looking around him. Bush. Frank Bush. He's not developed a lot of people. He's been with the Titans now. This is his 3rd time around. The guys on top of his resume are not very impressive. But Cedric Gray has to develop, and I think he has a chance to develop. I put him at number 5 on my list of guys most likely to develop this year. I write my lists 1 to 5, and then I read them 5 to 1. I ought to start writing them backwards, and it would make things more accessible. Number 4, we just talked about how Denard is, as a coordinator, very good with defensive backs. And that's why I've got at number 4, Darrell Baker. I think Darrell Baker is it was very encouraging how he played last year, and he was a surprise. They had grabbed him from the Colts when the Colts cut him. He's got the length to play effective man, and he really embraced the chance last year to be more physical. Really took to the coaching of Chris Harris, who's been replaced. Steve Jackson coached the corners for a while Chris Harris was out of pocket, and of Denard Wilson. he can make the Colts look even more foolish for letting him go. Daryl Baker could wind up being, in tandem with Jarvis Brownlee, depending on what happens with Snead. But I think, I think Daryl Baker's a real promising player for the Titans in their secondary here. I think they've got a lot of concerns about cornerbacks. We're going to talk a little bit about that as we go a little further. I like Daryl Baker, and I think Daryl Baker's got a continued chance to develop into a corner the Titans are going to be really pleased to have on their roster. Who help him? I've got him as number 4 on this list of guys with a good chance to develop this season. Number 3. Get the damn papers in the right order. Forgive me. This is terrible. It's terrible. I didn't do a number 3. Who should be number 3? Let's collectively come up with number 3. I left T'Vondre Sweat off the list, kind of on purpose, because I think T'Vondre Sweat, I think he's going to develop some, but I think he kind of is going to be a better version of what we saw. And so we'll put him at 3rd here. But I don't know how good a pass rusher T'Vondre Sweat can be. And I think that's going to define him. Are you guys convinced he's going to be much more disruptive than he was? I'm not. I think he's going to be a big run stuffer. I think he's going to be hard to get around. But I think he's probably going to be a better version of what we saw last year. They certainly need him to develop. We'll put T'Vondre Sweat at number 3. Number 2 is Jarvis Brownlee. Jarvis Brownlee, I mean, he's one of the biggest reasons to be encouraged about this team. It's a great pick late in the draft. The guy's sticky, and he's had the perfect attitude for what the Titans want to be in the secondary. And I think that only gets amplified as he continues to develop. What he needs is to clean up this thing where he's overly aggressive and too handsy. And if he can do that, and I know he's determined to do that, and I know the coaches are determined to work with him on that, when he does that, he can be really, really good. And, maybe ultimately he's a guy that helps you forget about L'Jarius Sneed, if you need to forget about L'Jarius Sneed. And maybe Sneed emerges this year and he plays in a way that makes it semi-worth having give up that 3rd rounder for him, provided that he can be healthy between the quad, between the knee, and between the legal difficulties. In a way that Cortland Finnegan kind of helped you forget about Pac-Man Jones. Samari Roll, Sam, is asking me, have I talked to Roll about Brownlee? Roll loves Brownlee. Roll coached Brownlee, I think, in a 7-on-7 team down in South Florida. Number 1 is J.C. Latham to me. I think J.C. Latham, the best of what we saw last year was pretty good. He just wasn't consistent, and he dropped off. And now a guy who's got the raw tools and was a right tackle at Alabama, gets that experience from playing on the left side for a season, comes back to his more natural position. He's got some left tackle traits in terms of his feet. Certainly he's got great, powerful hands. And I think he's got the potential to really grow into a very good right tackle. And if he doesn't, quite frankly, Titans are in trouble and should face a lot of scrutiny for that pick. If he is what Bill Callahan thought he was when he chimed in and helped them draft him, Titans should have their best right tackle in a long time. And finally have solved this problem where they went from Isaiah Wilson through all of this long stretch where both tackles have been a problem because since they turned down Jack Conklin's option, which I didn't have a big problem with, they've failed over and over to try to fill the spot, starting with Wilson and then with Radens and then with NPF. Um, so all of those problems, if Latham can be a guy who really develops in his second year, that can finally be put to bed. How do I? Oh, well, you're saying. I think Sam's saying here. How does JC handle the focus of that scrutiny with Rand gone if the worst case plays out? Because he was a Rand guy, and that'd be interesting. And Adam says the Titans should really be able to run the ball to the right side. When we need a yard, it should be behind Zeitler and Latham. I mean, you would think they would be able to go to either side. I mean, Moore is a big dollar guy, and Skoronski's also a first-round pick. And wouldn't it be nice if the Titans were unpredictable when they needed a yard? I mean, they should be able to, manhandle, if you will, either way to go get a yard. Now, it's fine for a team to announce, like, hey, when we need a yard, we're running this way, and you're not going to be able to stop us, and we're going to do it every time. But it'd also be nice to say that about either direction, right? We need a yard, we can go to the right, or we can go to the left, and you're not going to stop us either way. That would be great. Yeah, I mean, how do I handle it if Sam's asking? How do I handle it if Latham goes the other way and doesn't pan out? I think Callahan had a really big hand in it. I think it would be a scar for Bill Callahan, and it would be a real shame that he comes here and the first big player acquisition he has a hand in doesn't go well. That would be a problem. This line needs to not have us looking at a spot saying, boy, they got a problem there. And if he's a problem, that's a problem. So we shall see. No update on Cushenberry rehab, Sergeant Bubbles. Sorry about that. Join PaulKuharsky.com. Exclusive coverage of the Titans you can't get anywhere else. I'm heading into my 30th year covering the league, 29 covering this team, though I was away for a bit as enterprise writer for the Tennessean and covering the AFC South for ESPN.com. You're not going to get better, more insightful, more differentiated analysis or reporting on this team than you will from me, all for $7.50 a month, plus James Foster, Blake Bedingfield, Mike Herndon, best local insight you can find. James Foster's piece up right now. Some people have praised here. Smart look position by position, and he's going to be writing now about specific guys after some intensive draft coverage. Looks at specific guys on the Titans, really getting up under what the basis of their success, their weaknesses, and all of that is. You're not going to want to miss it. So $7.50 a month, paulkuharsky.com, access to absolutely everything and support for the best local journalism in Nashville sports. Appreciate it. Waiver pickups get really overrated. I mean, these guys, all that they've picked up are generally in the back of the depth chart. I will say, I don't think he was a waiver pickup. The cornerback from Dallas, I think, was just out there, right? He's got some significant experience, and I think he's somebody that we could look to. I'm trying to go find names. You'll have to bear with me for a second. Ure Warrior Ure Warrior is somebody worth keeping an eye on. And I really think they've attacked. We'll go right into my undrafted. So they've got Ure Warrior now on this depth chart. And if you look at corner, I think they've really attacked corner. So they've got Brownlee, McCreary, and Snead. They've got Daryl Baker. Now they've got Amani Uwe but they've got Gabe Judy Lally, who had a really nice training camp last year. But look out for these four guys: Germani Harris, Davian Ross, Clarence Lewis, and Jalen Kimber. They've invested decent money in at least two of them, and they really Marcus Harris, I didn't mention, who they drafted. They've really invested in this position. They're determined to round it out and to deepen it up. And I think that is significant. Significant. So I think that's a position to really keep attention on it. Sam asks, apologies if discussed. If Kush isn't ready for the start of the year, who's most likely to be in that spot today? I don't know for sure. I mean, they brought in some guys with some significant experience. And I don't think it's necessarily Levin. I've got Sam Mustafa, the veteran, as next on my line. But they signed him, and they also signed a guy who I don't have in my depth chart, which is who needs to be there. But they've given themselves some real options. And I think that is smart. They're going to be ready if things come. They're not listing him. Brendan Hymas, they're listing as an offensive lineman, but he's got some experience. His last name is Jaimes, but it's pronounced Hymas, and he's got experience at center as well. So they've got some options there. Cushenberry, you feel better because he plays in small quarters. Skill position guys coming back from Achilles is a whole different thing. That's a problem. Back to the waiver wire pickup question. If they hit on one, that'd be great. But most of these guys, they've been bringing in a lot of inside linebackers. You cross your fingers and hope they can offer a good option. But I don't know a great deal about many of them. 2026, Adam says, it's a good year to draft a running back in rounds 2 to 4 again with Pollard, the free agent, and Spears not standing out unless Khalil takes off. I know Joe Rexroad's very familiar with Khalil and really likes him and thinks that he could be, the back here in the long run. So that'll be interesting to see. A lot more churn at the bottom of the Titans. Sam is, where are we seeing? To follow on, Robert, definitely feels like a lot more churn at the bottom than we've had in ages. Churn at this time of year, they're certainly doing that. So, William Young, ESPN went downhill after I left. I appreciate you saying that. It's not a great place to work, I can tell you that. I've got friends there who I root for sure. Yeah, Trey Hendrickson can't just sign. He'd have to be traded for. Dave Mann said that would complete the defense for 3 years. Defense is far from complete. I don't know where you see the defense being complete. But Trey Hendrickson would cost a fortune in a trade and a fortune in a contract. And then Trey Hendrickson, would it be great to have this year? Absolutely. Does it time up kind of with the rest of the roster? No, it doesn't. And trading picks for a veteran like Trey Hendrickson just doesn't really work with what they're doing. So I wouldn't touch it. Adam's asking me over under 6 sacks for Femi Oladejo this year. I would definitely take the under on that, but it would be a nice surprise. Juan is asking, what about Orji, the linebacker? He was decent at Vandy. So a guy who was decent at Vandy, I'm supposed to get excited about at the NFL level. Have to see it. Ben Brown with an endorsement. Won't remember this, but he met me at a game way back in 98 or 99. I'm sure we had a good time, Ben. He's been a member for years, a bargain at this price. Juan wonders what the Steelers want for TJ Watt. I wonder why Juan thinks the Steelers would look to trade TJ Watt. Robert talking about Taylor Zarzar as the new Titans play-by-play guy started making media obligations yet. He was a small part of their draft coverage, though he was not obviously versed in the draft the way Rhett Bryan and Coach Mack and Amy Wells were. But I'm sure he is now joining in on some of that stuff. Can I shut down the Trey Hendrickson to the Titans talk? I think I just took a good crack at it. How many boxes are unchecked? Well, I mean, I talked about this on a football show, I think this week with Braden. The weird thing is, like Femi feels like OLB2, right? And DK and Io Manor feel like, maybe wide receiver 3. And, well, that's what you get maybe at some of those spots you're drafting. Though I think a lot of us feel like, well, maybe they could have done better at edge rusher, or maybe Femi takes time at any rate. But if you're getting edge rusher 2 and you're getting wide receiver 3, then you have to wait until another draft where you can use picks 1 and 2 to get edge rusher 1 and wide receiver 2. And so you're kind of filling the back forward. And it's kind of an awkward spot to be in. AJ, you will get no argument from me here that 104.5 has gone downhill since midday 180 left. Atrocious and laughable to be called sports talk radio. I'll just leave your statement to stand on its own. Saw a big change there in the morning, and I do feel bad for Kayla. I will say that. Do I think Rodgers goes to New Orleans or Pittsburgh? I don't see how he doesn't go to Pittsburgh, but I am so sick of Aaron Rodgers and the Aaron Rodgers watch, and that's all he wants. 104.5's become atrocious since the midday 180 left. AJ says sports talk radio is laughable at best and natural. That's what he just said. I think I hit that twice. Robbie and Rexroad, I think, is very good sports talk radio. One person on this team that's my favorite interview, Adam asks. I like talking to Peter Skoronsky off the top of my head. I think Peter Skoronsky is a bright, interested, and interesting guy, a thoughtful interview. Nicholas Westbrook-Akine won our Good Guy Award last year, which is only the second year we've been doing it, the Pro Football Writers of America Nashville division. And Daniel Brunskill won it the first year, and NWI won it last year. I think NWI was great, but I voted for Skoronsky, who I think last year was the best interview in the locker room and is one of my go-to guys. William asks what West Coast game is my favorite. I mean, I don't mind a trip to San Francisco, but honestly, I booked most of my flights last night, if not all of them. And, you might book to fly early to San Francisco on Saturday, and you get excited about that. And then when you book the return flight and you're getting up at 4 in the morning to catch a 5:30 flight, you lose all of your enthusiasm. So that's it. I do not really talk to Hutton and Withrow. It's a sadness in my life, to be frank. What else is on your mind? I appreciate all of you being here. Urge you again to eat at EDLEYS, to download the VIP Play app, and to sign up using code PaulTN. I can assure you it's an easier sign up than it used to be, which is definitely a bonus. Sam, you said, was he a bones pick for special teams? I don't know who you were talking about there. So if you want to repost that, I can touch on it. Tall Texan most people don't seem to like it. I actually like the Titans opening in Denver. Knicks obviously takes a step back now that they have a book on him, and he's just not very good anyway. That doesn't. I agree with that, but that doesn't have anything to do with Denver's defense, which is quite good. And that is the bigger concern there is Denver's defense. And while I think people have a book on Bo Nix, and I don't think he's going to ultimately be as good as he was as a rookie, I do think that he will present a challenge to the Titans defense on opening day, particularly if they don't rush him, as I think a lot of quarterbacks will pose problems for the Titans if they don't rush him. So thoughts on ticket prices, Brett Wallace asks, for the new stadium. I mean, they're pretty steep unless you're upper terrace. If I'm a Titans fan, would it be a good investment for the PSLs? I don't know. I think that's a tricky market. Like if you're getting in the market and saying, well, I'm going to go to X number of games and I'm going to sell the other ones looking to come across to come out ahead based on selling tickets to most of the games, a good share of the games. I just don't know if that's a business I'd want to be in. I think you could probably come out ahead, but I don't know. Do you want to be a ticket broker? Juan wants a sneak peek on the jerseys as if I've seen them. But yeah, ask Warren Moon. Ed Henry points out week one is always a crapshoot. Bad teams win all the time in week one. Ask anyone who plays survivor pools. That's true. And Mike Vrabel's good Titans teams struggled early. Chicago had a good defense last week. Charles Texan is saying good defense last year. And if Will Levis and the special teams didn't go stupid, they would have won. But they did go full stupid. I mean, what happened happened. We're not gonna. You don't know me very well if you think I'm gonna carve out and gerrymander the game into a win. Vince Troya, nice to see you. Nice to hear from you. Examining personnel is important, Vince says, but the Titans averaged 18 points per game. Where's the scoring going to come from? That's a very good question. They need to drive the ball far more frequently, far more extended drives that get the ball into the red zone, at least for more field goals, but certainly give them more chances at scoring 7 in the red zone, obviously. Where's that going to come from? Well, you hope from better management, fewer turnovers, more explosive plays, and better adjustments, particularly like we didn't see anything in the second halves where they came out and said, all right, we realize what they're doing to us and we can counter it. And that was really one of the bigger concerns. And I think that a lot of that was coaching, but a lot of that also was not having people who they could adjust with. And that's this never-ending question between, are the coaches doing the right thing, or do the coaches have enough to do the right thing with? Callahan and his staff have better people to do things with. Do they have better enough? Chase wants to know, should he go to the Arizona game or the Vegas game? My answer will finalize his decision. That is a big choice, Chase. I will say this. Glendale, Arizona is, kind of in the middle of nowhere. It's 9 miles. I just looked it up last night when I was making my hotel reservation. It's 9 miles away from Phoenix. And I prefer a stadium that's close to town. Now, I don't have as much money to play blackjack as I used to once upon a time. And I've never been to the Allegiant yet, so that'll be my first trip to Allegiant. But if I were you, having been to neither place, I would vote for Allegiant. I mean, I don't know if you're a gambler or not, but you'd be in the middle of more stuff being at the Vegas Stadium, which is, pretty close to everything as opposed to the Arizona Stadium, unless you're a huge tailgater and you want to rent a car and pull up and spend time in the parking lot. Happy Thursday, Kane. Oh, you were talking about the Dallas DB. Uh, yes, I would suspect Uwararie. Uwararie. I certainly don't think that the Titans are signing him without Bones Fassel giving an endorsement. So that's part of it. Adam is offering a tip to our friend that wanted to know about Arizona or Vegas, and he says he's in Arizona. He'd say come here simply because Vegas prices have gone through the roof for everything. You can have as much fun here for a better price. I got, I'm a big Marriott guy, and I got a good Marriott on the Strip for about $200 a night. So not bad. Kane is planning on taking their son to Denver for his first Titans game in week 1, which will be cool. All right. This has been a good episode. We are right at an hour. Excited that so many of you were able to come and visit. We'll do it again next week. Monday, I will be with Braden Gall on a football show. Wednesday, after a nice afternoon edition of Kuharsky and Rex Road on the game yesterday, which you should check out if you haven't heard it. I'll be back Wednesday with Robbie and Rex Road, 7:30 to 9 a.m. That's where you can find me on the video medium. You can catch my writing at paulkuharsky.com, where you should be a member, as I have encouraged you. Come sign up. Don't block the box. And be sure to lock your locks. I hope you have a great weekend. Go Yanks.